Hello and welcome to this video. I am now going to do these book wrap-ups monthly because I am just reading so much. At the end of July, I officially have read 100 books this year. It was my original goal at the beginning of the year, and I honestly didn't think I was going to achieve it because I have never been able to do 100 books a year. And now I've done it and the year's not over. So my new goal is 150 books, so let's see if we can do that. But I want to talk to you today about the books that I read in July that then led to me reading 100 books. So exciting. I also did a whole Instagram photo shoot with my books to show off the fact that I read 100 books, and it so far has more likes than any other photo of this year on Instagram. Hi. I'm editing right now and I just realized I never introduced myself in the intro, but hi, I'm Ellen. I like to read a lot of books. Welcome to my channel. Now I think the last time I did a book wrap up, I talked about them in order of how much I liked them. And I kind of liked that, so I'm going to continue with that. We'll start with my least favorite all the way to my favorite. But of course, we're going to start with stats, because I love statistics. They are great and wonderful. So, as always, I got my handy dandy bullet journal helping me with my stats. Oh my god, there is something in my eye. Okay, so I didn't even write down the total. Great. Okay. Total, I read 13 books. The format of them, 7 of the books were hardcover, 6 of them were paperback. 8 of them were white authors and 5 were BIPOC authors. 6 came out in 2021 and 7 of them were backlisted. 6 were male authors, 7 female authors. I read 5 young adult, 8 adult. The shortest book I read was 115 pages, and then the longest book I read was 588 pages. Total, I read 3,529 pages, and so that averages to 114 pages a day. For genres, I read 3 romances, 3 sci-fi, 2 poetry, 2 fantasy, 1 horror, 1 thriller, and 1 play. And then for stars, I have 1 1-star, 3 3-stars, 7 4-stars, and 2 5-stars. So my average rating is 3.7 stars. And those are the stats. So now let's get into talking about the books. The first book I'm going to talk about is my least favorite book of the month and is also a DNF. I did not finish this book because I was just really not liking this book. How many pages did I get into it before I DNF'd it? Because I know I got a decent way into the book. Yeah, I read about 202 pages before I decided to DNF it. And it's a 325 page book, so I definitely made it past the halfway mark. But that book is the collected poems of Emily Dickinson. Don't come for me. I know a lot of people really love Emily Dickinson. There's a reason why she's considered a classic. But when I was reading this, it just felt like a load of nothing that I was reading. I don't remember any of the poems I've read. I couldn't get with her writing style either. It was definitely not my cup of tea. And yeah, I also just felt like I was reading gibberish and nothing was making sense, and I felt like she was just saying a whole lot of nothing. I'm sorry if that was harsh. But that is just how I feel about Emily Dickinson. I really wanted to like this. I wanted to like her, especially because I've been really getting into poetry lately. And so I was like, let me try classic poetry. Yeah, no, I am a modern poetry gal. Now the next books I want to talk about are not low-rated books. I just want to talk about them at the same time. So I just put them here in this section. But those are the last 3 volumes of the Descender graphic novel series. So I have volume 4, volume 5, and volume 6. So I gave all of these 4 stars, but they're different on the rating scale and they would have been out of order, so I'd rather just talk about them in order. So I'm gonna put them here. So, Volume 4. This is definitely a step up from Volume 3, because Volume 3 was like okay, but I think out of all of the volumes, it was my least favorite. This one had a little bit more action, so I like when there's a lot of action. And there's definitely like 3 different storylines going on at the same time, but they're quite easy to follow along and remember. And I really liked all the character conflicts that happened in this. Tim 22 is terrifying. I also liked Driller's new friend in this one. What was his name? Misered? Yeah. And I like kind of, I think for me in this one, Driller's story was a little bit of my favorite in this one. That one I wanted to focus on a little bit more, but that's okay. Yeah, so this was a 4-star, along with Volume 5, which I think is my favorite of the volumes. Volume 5 is my favorite. It was the best. With this one, the story is definitely really amping up, and you can tell like something big is coming, and the anticipation is just like there. And it's killing you. It killed me. The stakes are also a lot higher in this one, and it definitely ends on a high note. And so as soon as I finished this, I immediately picked up Volume 6. So this was also a 4-star, but like a really high 4-star. And so then Volume 6, the Machine War. As you can tell, the war happens in this one. Also, this is, I think, the longest of all of them. This one also was really great and excellent. I highly enjoyed this one. We did also get a lot of backstory in this one. Like, this one started off with backstory. And usually I'm kind of like meh about backstory, but I thought this did a really good job with the backstory, this volume. And it definitely answered a lot of questions. And of course, just enjoyed the ending. And I'm kind of wanting to read Ascender, which is the next series. And it follows a new character. And it's gonna be like a new storyline, but within this same world. So I might just do that. Alright, now we're into 3 stars because there were no 2 stars this year, or this month. And my lowest 3-star, I'm so sad to say, is Survive the Night by Riley Sager. I'm really sad about this. So I love Riley Sager. I have read all of his books. This is his newest one that came out at the very end of June. So his other books I've given like 4 and 5 stars. I love them to death. Highly anticipated this. And then I read it and I was very disappointed. I will say it was going to be a 2-star, but then the ending happened and it was a little bit better. It made it better. So Survive the Night is about this girl named Charlie. She is in college in the 90s and her roommate was murdered by a serial killer known as the campus killer. And so she's been dealing with a lot of like trauma and guilt from that. So she decides that she's gonna leave, but she is going to get into a car with a stranger. For some reason, that's her decision. And drive back home and like drop out of college. But as she's on this car ride, she starts thinking, huh, this might be the campus killer. And so, yeah, she goes into this wild night of just trying to survive. So here's the thing. Riley Sager, I love his writing, I love his storytelling, and I love his twists. That all went out the window with this book. I predicted the twist within like, honestly, 4 chapters. Granted, there are more than one twist in this book. Some of them I didn't predict, but the main one, I predicted it from the start, and I'm upset about it because usually Riley Sager, I can never predict what's gonna happen. And then it's always so shocking. So I didn't get that with this one. Also, the writing was so bad. I'm sorry. But like, the writing, in the beginning at least, like the first half of the book, the writing was so repetitive and was just over explaining everything to the point where I wanted to DNF this book. But because it's Riley Sager, I just like, I knew it was gonna get better. Yeah, there were a lot of times where like it took him 5 pages to explain something that I already understood. Like, you've explained it. You're good. I got it. You're gonna keep explaining it. Cool. It just kind of felt like his writing in the beginning felt like he thought I was stupid and I wasn't understanding what was happening. And I'm like, no, I'm understanding it. So I really hated the first half, but I enjoyed the second half. Even though I did predict the big twist, I enjoyed it because there were some things I didn't see coming. The action got a lot better, and also there wasn't a lot of over explanation. But I also too really enjoyed that like last chapter that kind of took place a few years in the future, like the epilogue took place a few years in the future, and it just kind of like took the whole story and like flipped it on its head a little bit. And that epilogue is what saved this book, to be honest. So like I enjoyed my time reading this overall, but I'm very disappointed in Riley Sager. Okay, so the next 3-star that I have is The Taking of Jake Livingston. Oh, look at that. You can see the ring light. Okay. The Taking of Jake Livingston by Ryan Douglas. This is a young adult horror involving ghosts, and one ghost in particular trying to possess our main character, who is alive, who can see dead people. He's a medium, sees ghosts. Most are harmless, but this one, what's his name? Sawyer, I think it is. This ghost, Sawyer, might be evil and might be trying to take over Jake Livingston's body. This is very short. I wish it was longer because it felt a little too fast-paced, and I would have liked a little bit more world building, but I did actually enjoy the story and I enjoyed the writing. But the reason behind this being a 3-star is just I wanted a lot more from it. I felt like there were some things missing, and I also just wanted some more character development. So it needed a bit more. I do think Sawyer, the ghost, his character development was really good, but I wanted more from Jake Livingston and his brother and his friends. Like, I just wanted a little bit more. Other than that, super enjoyable. We'll definitely check out more from this author. And then my highest 3-star is King Lear by Shakespeare. Your girl's back reading Shakespeare. It's been a couple months. I took a little break, but I'm back at it. And so the one I decided to pick up was King Lear. And I enjoyed this one, but like the Shakespeare tropes got a bit too much for me in this one. The one I'm talking about is like characters being over-exaggerated and doing things that are over-exaggerated, very rash and quick decisions without really thinking. Shakespeare's characters do that a lot. And there was a lot of that going on in here, that it just got to be a bit too much for me. But what I did really like, I liked some of the characters. Like, I thought King Lear, I liked, even though he's a bit wacky and kind of mean at times, I still really liked King Lear. Yeah, so I liked the characters, but what I liked about the whole, like, making very rash decisions without thinking first, and just kind of taking like everyone's word about something when they're most likely lying and just like really over exaggerated. I liked how even though there was a lot of that, by the end you kind of see the characters learn that, oh, maybe I shouldn't have made such rash decisions. And I'm like, okay, all right, we're learning. We're understanding that we shouldn't be doing this. So I liked almost like that self-awareness of the play. I don't even know how to describe what King Lear is about, to be honest, but we have King Lear. He's an old man, he's a king, he's got 3 daughters, Two of them are married. His youngest, his favorite, is about to be married off, but he decides to ask his daughters how much they love him. The two oldest daughters are just kind of like, oh my god, yeah, I love you this much, whatever. And the young one is like, I'm not good with words. I don't know how to tell you I love you. So he just takes it as like she doesn't love him, so he banishes her or like disowns her and then starts to become senile. And then his oldest two daughters start to like hate him and resent him, and by the end there's just a lot of death. That was another thing too with the ending, where a lot of people were dying. It was all happening very quickly, and sometimes I was getting confused. It was just hard to keep track of all the deaths. But then also too, there were like a lot of letters being passed around within this one, and it was very hard to keep track of the letters as well. Anyway, that's all I have to say about King Lear. It's a 3-star, not my favorite Shakespeare, but semi-enjoyable. Next I have Blackout, and this is by Danielle Clayton, Tiffany Jackson, Nick Stone, Angie Thomas, Ashley Woodfolk, and Nicola Yoon. Some fantastic authors. There's that ring light again. Some fantastic authors that I really, really love. I especially love Nick Stone, Angie Thomas, and Nicola Yoon. I have yet to read from Danielle Clayton, Tiffany Jackson, or Ashley Woodfolk until I read this book. But I mean, like, their own separate works I have not read. This was also not what I was expecting, because I was expecting something else, and then that's not what happened. But we're in the 4 stars, by the way. I forgot to mention that. And so this is a 4-star. I did really enjoy this, even though it's not what I was expecting. But this is like 6 different love stories that all happen on the same night, and they're all kind of like eventually by the end they all like interweave with each other, and they all happen during a blackout in Manhattan and Brooklyn, which, by the way, this book underneath the dust jacket is gorgeous, and I'm here for it. So that's what that is technically what you get, but I didn't realize that they were going to interweave with each other, and I didn't realize that some of them were gonna have parts and like sections. So like you'd be reading one story and then you'd go on to another one, and then you go back to that first story, and then you go to like another one, and then you go back to that second story, and it was just like you kept going like throughout all the 6 different stories like at the same time, and it was just a little confusing. But overall I really, really loved this. I thought the writing was fantastic, even though the format of it was a little bit wonky for me. I wanted it to be longer too. Like when I saw this I was like, wait, I'm sorry, how are we fitting 6 different stories in this? Like, this is so short. So that was another thing. I did want it to be longer, but I did enjoy all the separate stories. They were all great romances. It was lovely. I thought most of this was also a little bit unrealistic, especially the last story. Like, why can't I ever fall in love with my Uber driver? Hello. Very cute, very fun. I enjoyed this a lot. Would love to have like another one like this, but just longer. Hello, editing Ellen here. Now in filming mode again, because apparently past Ellen forgot to hit record for the last few books that she talked about. So I'm now here all undone in lounging around clothes, and we're just gonna talk about the last, how many books? 5? The last 5 books that I, for some reason, didn't record. So let's do this again, and I'm gonna try to just speed through because I don't want to be here doing this again for much longer. So my next 4-star is The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. This was close to a 5-star. I really, really, really loved this. It's an adult romance following Stella, who has Asperger's. And she hasn't been too great in the romance department, so she decides to hire a male escort to like teach her, like give her lessons on how to be in a relationship, how to have good sex, that type of stuff. And the male escort she hires, his name is Michael. He is one of my new book boyfriends. I love him so much. And of course they end up having this real life romance, but both of them are thinking, oh, it's fake. It's not real for them. Anyway, it was so cute, so adorable. I loved this with my whole heart. It also has some really good smut scenes. You know, that's why I come for the romances, for the smut, sexy sex scenes. And I thought these were written very well. It's very addictive. It's a quick read as well. I was able to fly through this, and also I just found myself like smiling the whole time I was reading this. I really enjoyed our main characters as well as a few of our side characters, and I do think our two main characters needed better communication skills, but other than that, I really enjoyed this, so 4 stars. My next 4-star, which was also close to a 5-star, is Rule of Wolves by Leigh Bardugo. Oh my god. I love Leigh Bardugo. I love the Grishaverse. So this is the sequel to King of Scars, which is the Nikolai duology within the Grishaverse. I wasn't too happy about King of Scars. Like, it was fine, but I also was like very underwhelmed. But this one delivered. Thank God. It was also huge, so this took me like 3 months to read. I really love this world and these characters, so of course I was happy to get back to it. When I read this book, I cried a couple of times. I think maybe just 2 times I cried. Like, I really felt the emotions with this one, and I'm just really happy too with how it ended. Like, I'm happy with where our characters are. And I'm also happy that we finally got this war. Like, Jesus Christ, was this war, like, oh, we had so much anticipation for this war. And it happened, and I'm a little bit underwhelmed by the war, I will say. Like, it was exciting and fun in the moment, but then once it was done, I was like, wait, that's it? So I had 1.5 books, big books, of anticipation, and then it's just like done and over with within like a few chapters. So yeah, I do think a lot of this book was dragged out and could have been condensed, but other than that, I do think a lot of things worked with this book, and I really enjoyed it. And if she comes out with anything else in the Grishaverse, of course I am going to read it. And then my last 4 stars, which is also a close 5-star, I really enjoyed a lot of books this month, is Curses by Lish Mcbride. This was a huge surprise, because I thought I was going to give this 3 stars. I went into it being like, you know what, I might like it, but I think it's going to come out as a 3-star. And then within like the first couple pages, I was like, wait a minute, is this a 5-star? And I just like kept reading, and I was like, I think this is a 5-star. But then the ending, which I will talk about later, brings it to a 4-star. But let me just tell you about this book for a hot second. This is a young adult fantasy, Beauty and the Beast retelling, but the genders are flipped. So the girl is the beast and the guy is the beauty. Which, by the way, another new book boyfriend, Telvin, that's his name, right? Tevin, sorry. Tevin, I'm in love. It's definitely a different take on Beauty and the Beast. Like, it does have the original, like some original elements of the story, but at the same time, it's also its own thing, and it's very different, which I really appreciate it, because we do have a lot of fairies and a lot of other like characters that you don't see in the original movie story. Also really loved the writing. Like, I want to read more from this author. I think her writing is spectacular. I also just really loved this like slow burn romance that we had going on. And not even like our main characters, but our side characters were so fleshed out and just so great. And I love the whole like found family aspect with this too. Like, it just had a lot of great things going for it. There were only 2 issues I had with it. Number 1, a lot of things logistically like just did not seem realistic. Like, I understand we're in a fantasy world, I can understand that, but there were just a few things that, like, even in a fantasy world, I can't understand how that, like, would logistically look, how that would work. A little bit of that was too much for me. I feel like the lighting sucks at this hour, which is why I always film in the morning. And then also, like I said, the ending. It felt like a very abrupt and rushed ending. I wanted so much more. Like, at least give me an epilogue. I felt like I went through this whole journey and it just ends so quickly. And I felt like some things didn't quite get wrapped up, or if it did get wrapped up, it was a little bit lazily done and just like quickly written off. And I was like, okay, I need more. I know it's already like quite a chunky book, but like I needed more. But still a very high 4-star. And I want to check out more by this author for sure. Now my 5 stars, I have 2, and they're both, like, I equally love them both the same, so I don't know what to choose, and I keep changing my mind and going back and forth, but as of right now, my number 2 favorite book of the month is Fierce Fairy Tales by Nikita Gill. I have found a new favorite poetry author. It's now between Nikita Gill and Rudy Francisco, which, by the way, these are all my poetry books over here. I have a lot of favorite poetry authors, but like Nikita Gill, oh my god, as soon as I was done reading this book, I went out and purchased all of her books. So hopefully I can read at least one next month, maybe a little bit more, but I have a lot of reading to do in the month of August. Why do I do this to myself? Anyway, Fierce Fairy Tales was fantastic. It's a collection of poems and like short stories that kind of like have fairy tale, they like feel like a fairy tale is being written and like you're reading a fairy tale, but also it's like fairy tale that are perspectives from other characters from fairy tales that we don't normally hear from. Like, I know there's one in here that's from Gaston's point of view, there's one that's from like the stepmother and the stepsister's point of view and the fairy godmother's point of view, and there's, I think there's even one from Ursula's point of view, the Little Mermaid's mom's point of view. She just the way she writes is just so beautiful, and I like that we get their point of view, but also it's like a commentary on our society. I feel like I'm not talking about this book in justice. What? Okay, talking about this book is making me forget English. That's how much I love this book. She is so much better with words than I am. Take my word for it. What am I saying? You know what? I have no words for this. We're just gonna leave it at that. It's stunning. I want to read everything by Nikita Gill. That's it. There we go. All right. And then my favorite book of the month, my top 5-star that I've got here, is Xoxo by Axio. I, again, very surprised. I thought this was gonna be a 4-star, maybe a 3-star. I was not expecting this to be a 5-star. This was the cutest dang romance I have ever read. This is a young adult romance following Jenny and Jae-woo. Jenny is from Los Angeles. She goes to music school. She's wants to be a cellist, so she's really good on the cello. And then Jae-woo is a K-pop star from South Korea. And they meet just randomly one night in Los Angeles. And it's a really great one night, but then they separate and like will never see each other again. Until she finds out her grandmother, who lives in South Korea, who she's never met, is not doing well health-wise, and so her and her mom moved to South Korea for like 6 months to help take care of her grandma. With that, she transfers to a music school in South Korea, and wouldn't you know it, Jae-woo also goes to this school. It's a fantastic read. I loved the setting. I absolutely loved these characters. These characters too were also just really fleshed out and very complex and just had a lot going for them. Everything was like perfectly paced, like the drama was great, and I just had so much fun reading this book. I thought this was absolutely fantastic in every way. I couldn't find a single fault The only fault is that it needs a sequel. Because I want a story of Nathaniel and Sori. I felt like we didn't get enough from them, and I want more from them. But still, 5-star, loved it, fantastic. And that is it for this video. I do also have a movie review for the month of July. I know I've only been doing those every 3 months because I haven't been watching as many movies, but I actually watched a decent amount of movies in July because theaters are back and movies are coming to theaters again. So I'm seeing more movies. So I will link that down below so you can check out my movie review for July. And I think that's it. That is it. And I will see you guys with more videos later. Bye!